Good morning everyone. So my name is P. Devakusuma, working as Assistant Professor in Aditya College of Pharmacy, Surampalam. So today's our topic is all about pharmacotherapy of congestive heart failure. So in this PPT we're going to cover all introduction, classification, signs and symptoms, how heart failure is diagnosed and pathophysiology of a heart, treatment strategies of this congestive heart failure and pharmacotherapy, as well as recent advances in the conclusion. So coming to next slide. So introduction. So first of all we have to be very clear with the term congestive heart failure. So before knowing about this term we need to be very clear what is the main function of heart. So what is the main function of heart? To pump the blood, so oxygenated blood to different parts of our body. But in this congestive heart failure, the heart will lose its function to pump the oxygenated blood to different parts of our body. So that is a main thing happened in this congestive heart failure. So you can see the difference between the normal heart and the heart suffering with a congestive heart failure. See the difference between, you can see some sort of enlargement in this case. So the heart, mainly heart failure heart has a reduced ability to pump the oxygenated blood to different parts of a body. So you can see the difference here. Okay. So coming to the next, signs and symptoms. So the person who is suffering with the congestive heart failure, you can see different sort of signs and symptoms in that patient. Like you see here dilated pupils get dilated, whereas you can see the dyspnea in that patient, orthopnea in this patient, like difficulty in a breathing, like shortness of breathing, that kind of symptoms can be seen. At the same way wheezing sounds will be happening in that particular patient. In the same way you can see the decreased blood pressure in that particular patient, nausea, vomiting, anxiety, all this, like confusion, like this fatigue is a weakness, we know that, and whereas tachycardia is like quick heartbeats. So all these are different signs and symptoms you can see in the patient who is suffering with the congestive heart failure. So coming to next slide, pathophysiology. Mainly congestive heart failure will be happen due to left ventricular failure or else a right ventricular failure. So you can see some sort of names, disease names which comes under left ventricular failure. So some of the disease names include ischemic heart disease. Ischemic means you know that there is no proper supply of blood to the cells. So ischemic heart disease, myocarditis, valvular heart disease, restrictive pericarditis, or some of the disease that comes under due to the failure of left ventricle, whereas diseases which comes under the failure of right ventricles include coronary pulmonate as well as pulmonale, as well as right-sided valvular disease, right-sided myocardial disease, pulmonary hypertension. All these will be comes under if the right ventricle gets failed. So these conditions like failure of left and right ventricles, that may lead to some sort of compensatory mechanisms. So you can see, so just remember only these two things here. These two mechanisms will be occur. First one is activation of a norepinephrine, right? Norepinephrine, whereas in this case activation of renin, angiotensin, aldosterone mechanism. As we all know, this renin, angiotensin, aldosterone mechanism is the system is mainly involved in regulation of blood pressure, at the same time balancing of electrolytes in the body, right? So in this case if there is activation of this norepinephrine, that may leads to the tachycardia, we know that, quick heartbeat. So bradycardia means there is slow heartbeat, like very slow in heartbeat, whereas see here, so this if renin, angiotensin, aldosterone mechanism is activated, that will lead to the sodium and water retention, right? So those both will further increase the stress on the myocardium, so that will lead to the congestive heart failure. So mainly activation of norepinephrine as well as activation of renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, those two are main reasons for the congestive heart failure because they increase the stress on the myocardium. So coming to the classification of the drugs used in the congestive heart failure, see here there are different sort of category of drugs coming under this, right? First one is inotropic drugs, Second one is diuretics, aldosterone antagonists. Next one is inhibitors of renin-angiotensin system, vasodilators, beta-adrenergic blockers and others. So you can see here in this ionotropic drugs. So what is the meaning of ionotropic, chronotropic? So you know that ionotropic is nothing but increasing of a contractility, whereas chronotropic means increasing of a heart rate, we know that. So in here we are using the ionotropic drugs which mainly involves the increasing of a contractility of a heart muscle. So the drugs which coming under that category include cardiac glycosides. Main important drug is that digitoxin. So whereas sympathomimetics, the drugs covered here are dopamine, dobutamine, all these will be comes under. Whereas phosphodiesterase 3 inhibitors, main example is amnirone, we know that. So coming to next category, diuretics. So which high serine diuretics? Thiazide-like diuretics, where high serine diuretics examples include furosemide as well as bumetamide. Okay, here this thiazide mainly involves hydrochlorothiazide, metallogen, whereas zipamide, all these will be considered as diuretics. Coming to aldosterone antagonists, main example is spironolactone. We are very familiar with this drug, right? Next one, coming to the inhibitors of renin-angiotensin system. So mainly two category of drugs will be covered in this category. We know ACE inhibitor, nothing but enalapril, ramipril, all the pril, suffix pril comes under this ACE inhibitor, like angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, so which involves in converting from angiotensin 1 to 2, we know. Whereas angiotensin, here the receptor blockers, examples losartan, telmisartan, we are very familiar with this telmisartan because nowadays everybody are using this, right, which mainly involves in regulating of a blood pressure. See here, next category, vasodilators, like example glyceryl trinitrate, all these like example. Next category, beta adrenergic blockers, example metoprolol, all prolol suffix will be covered in this category, whereas other drugs like this. So now in this PPT we can cover few drugs which mainly comes under the ionotropic drugs. So already I told you these will increase the contractility of a heart muscle, right? So example, cardiac glycosides. So main important drug is digoxin, I have already told you. So first, knowing about the mechanism, we need to be very clear with the glycoside. So here, combining with sugar with the non-sugar, you will get a glycoside, we know that. So here, sugar, in place of sugar you can take a digitoxose, like example. Non-sugar means steroidal lactose, combining of both those two will get a cardiac glycosides. So what is the main mechanism is these ionotropic drug like cardiac glycosides, which mainly increase the contractility of a heart muscle. Okay. So coming to this second one, sympathomimetics. These drugs also involved in the increasing of contractility. But here these sympathomimetics as well as phosphodiesterase 3 inhibitors, both these category of drugs which mainly increase the CAMP levels. So what happens if increasing of CAMP, this also increase the calcium levels influx into the muscle, so which increase the contractility. So this is the main mechanism of these category drugs. So mainly these main important thing is increase the contractility of a heart muscles. Whereas coming to the next category, yes, before to that we need to know the uses of this category of drugs like ionotropic drugs. Main uses includes treat the congestive heart failure, we already know that. Whereas paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. Tachycardia means what? Quick heartbeat. So that kind of problems can also be treated with the help of these drugs. Whereas atrial flutter and also nothing but a quick heartbeat. Okay, but atrial flutter, this particular patient who are suffering with atrial flutter and atrial fibrillations can also be treated with the help of this ionotropic drugs. Whereas dilated heart problem, the person who are suffering with a dilated heart can also be treated using these ionotropic drugs. Next, coming to the next one, side effects. So if these are given in a high dose, like ionotropic drugs, if given in a high dose, that mainly leads the mainly effect that is shown on the GIT as well as CNS endocrinal system, all these systems especially they are affected if we give in a high dose. Okay. So whereas contraindications and the patients who are suffering with the hypokalemia, that means where renal impairment like this same way like atrial flutter and the fibrillation, as well as hypothyroidism, as well the patient who are suffering with the myocardium damage, hypomagnesium, whereas hypercalcemia, pulmonary disease, ventricular fibrillation, the patients who are suffering with the certain diseases, we should not give the inotropic drugs. So because they undergo contraindications, and the same way we should not give these drugs with the patient who are suffering, who are in a pregnancy condition, pregnancy women also. So coming to the next category of drugs, diuretic drugs. As we all know, these diuretics which mainly involved in excretion of sodium and water. That means they inhibit the retention. That means they inhibit the reabsorption of sodium as well as water. So thereby leads to excretion. So what happens if the water and sodium excreted out? That will decrease the pressure, right? Pressure on the heart also. So that will dilate the vessels. And see, you can see the diuretics mainly they target the proximal culminated tubule, loop of Henle, as well as where is this this DCT, as well as collecting duct. So they mainly target these areas. They inhibit the reabsorption of sodium and the water in these areas. Especially inhibit the reabsorption means what? Increasing the output. Urine output will be increased. Next, that means glomerular filtration also increase. So we are coming to the vasodilators. The name itself is speaking that they will dilate the vessels, smooth vessels especially. So they mainly involved in dilation process. That means they increase the pressure on the heart, because they are dilating the vessel, pressure is also decreasing on the heart. So mainly they activate the guanylate cyclase enzyme, which is a main enzyme that converts GTP to CGMP. Okay, what happens if CGMP increases? That will lead to relaxation. That will lead to relaxation of smooth muscles. Okay, thereby the pressure decreases. Whereas coming to the next category of drugs, beta adrenergic blockers. So where these mainly involved in increasing of CO. So thereby they mainly maintain the adequate CO. These drugs will mainly maintain the adequate CO levels. So see, you can see in this next pathway. So here this is a simple design or a schematic representation. Here the mechanism of action of all the category drugs. So in this heart failure, then you can see the reduced CO level, which will involves an activation of a nervous system, sympathetic nervous system, leads to the vasoconstriction. So those beta adrenergic drug mainly involves in maintaining or regulating of a CO levels. So they will lead to dilation of a vessels, mainly involves in dilation of a vessels. So we have left with one more category of drugs, nothing but renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system inhibitors. So they mainly involved in inhibition of angiotensin. Okay, because they mainly target on the angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. That means what? The enzyme which is responsible for conversion of angiotensin 1 to 2. So they are inhibiting that particular enzyme. At the same time, they are also inhibiting or blocking the receptors of angiotensin. So they mainly involves in stopping the angiotensin to work or release. So what happens if angiotensin is released or activated? That will stimulate the aldosterone. So that's way. So here they mainly involves in inhibiting of a angiotensin converting enzyme and also block the angiotensin receptors. So coming to next. So how the CHF, nothing but a congestive heart failure, can be prevented? Yes, of course it can be prevented by taking a proper precautions. So like taking a proper food and regulating of a blood pressure by taking a proper food, exercise, diet, everything, like maintaining a good cholesterol levels and diagnosing infrequently, and then also quit the smoking, alcohol, all these habits which will directly harm the heart. That's why if we control all these bad habits like bad cholesterol, like decreasing of a cholesterol by controlling of a bad food, junk food, all these things. So, and also quitting of a smoking, alcohol, drugs, some sort of drug addictions will be there. So all these, if we control, then we can control the CHF also. So whereas coming to the conclusion, here especially you have to be very careful, like we have to diagnose frequently. See here, heart failure has reached epidemic proportions, right? Early identification is very important. If you identify the CHF in an early stage, if you take a proper therapy, proper treatment in the starting stage, when you have diagnosed there is a beginning of a CHF, then taking a proper treatment with the proper drugs, then definitely this can be prevented. So then we have to take an optimum utilization of available drugs. At the same time, we have to take some surgical procedures for preventing of a CHF. So all these can improve the patient to come out of the CHF. That means improves the outcome of these patients. So yes, thank you so much.